Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to House of Cameron, the latest installment in the Houselights series, a podcast dedicated to looking to the entire works of directors from start to finish. I am one of your hosts, John Mills, and joining me on this journey as we examine the works of one Mr. King of the World, James Cameron, is, of course, with me, Tristan Riddell. Tristan, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, and I cannot wait to talk about all 1,000 Terminators that we didn't see.
Yes, that has got to be very interesting. And of course, it leads to a very interesting sort of question, because there seems to be a numbering error actually in the movie. But hey, that's for the nitpickers like Dr. Sci-Fi himself. Darren, how are you? And how do you feel about all of the missing Terminator models?
I mean, not since Jaws 19 have there been, inspiring minds want to know what are those numbers. And my plan this entire podcast is to keep you guessing for as long as possible. Am I the returning villain or am I the new good host this time? Maybe the teaser poster will give it away. I don't know.
It's possible the teaser poster will give it away, or even a Guns N' Roses video. But what won't give it away will be thenerdparty.com, where you can find all three of us. You can find the show, of course. You can find all of the shows for the Nerd Party over there. If you want to reach out to the Houselights podcast, you can go ahead and go to thenerdparty.com/contact. Drop us a line over there. Find the network on Twitter at Join Nerd Party. Find the Nerd Party over on Facebook and Instagram. And with all of those pleasantries out of the way, this is the big one. This is the one that absolutely became a genre-defining cultural touchstone moment in the history of cinema. It changed everything that came afterward. And I cannot wait to talk about Terminator 2 Judgment Day, because, of course, we know I'm the old man of the group, so I will save my story. But Darren, we'll kick off with you, actually. What was your first experience with Terminator 2 Judgment Day?
Oh, well, like most of my answers on this podcast, it's probably just a Hollywood, a blockbuster or Hollywood video rental. And again, this is Cameron's first sequel as far as his own properties. I mean, he did Aliens as a sequel, but, returning to something that he created, which not a lot of directors often do. And he's kind of doing that now, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, for T2, this was definitely probably another Hollywood video grab. And I mean, it's got that striking cover of Arnold, in all black and white. He's got the eyes and he's got his sunglasses on, and he's back because he said he'd be back. But
that's right.
Yeah, no, just a lot of fun to watch and and just digest. Probably was the theatrical version, which is what we're reviewing. As we'll get into versions, I'm sure, at a later point. But just a fun film. I mean, it builds on the first and takes everything and doubles it in a great way.
Yeah. And Tristan, I'm presuming that video cassette and or broadcast, maybe you saw it on the ABC Sunday Night Movie or something like that.
Sunday Night Movie.
Nice. Honestly, I have no memory of when I watched this first. I have zero movie. This is one of those things that was kind of ever present. Like, it's one of those things that I feel like I was born with the knowledge of this movie, and thus it's always been with me. No, I honestly, I could not tell you. I was thinking about this for a while, because I know that we always ask this question at the top of our shows, and I can't tell you. I have no memory of when I watched this first. It had to have been with my dad. It probably was on TV, because I don't remember hearing too much swearing. And so it had to have been on TV. So I think that's what it was. But this is, I never watched this on VHS. I saw it on TV, and the next time I saw it was when DVDs came out. So okay. I had a huge gap of, I haven't actually seen this movie that many times.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that'll definitely get interesting as we discuss more of this. I'll go ahead and share my story. Of course, I did see this in the movie theater, and I still remember the first time when the plates come down, the silver plates come down with the fire in front of them, ching, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. And everybody in the theater was just like, yes, it's begun. I remember the ad campaign going up to it. I remember the posters that came out, and I still think it's one of the funniest posters making fun of Jaws the Revenge, where it said on the poster, "It's nothing personal." And it was a specific dig at a movie that had nothing to do with it. This poor little Jaws movie that everybody hated, and they still took a shot at it in the lead up to Terminator 2, which I thought was great because everybody knew what they were making fun of. And that summer, everybody was all about Terminator 2. I don't know how many times I saw it. Probably saw it 2 or 3 times in the theater. And just everybody made reference to it. I had the soundtrack. Everybody debated whether they liked the first one or the second one better. Most everybody said they liked the second one better. And everybody, of course, because I've always run in very nerdy circles, everybody debated about the plausibility of the T-1000 in its later states after they get to the plant, and whether some of its function would have been retained or lost, or how that would have even worked, and all of that sort of thing, because it really was sort of mind-blowing, this villain that was truly unkillable. How do you go from the unkillable Terminator of the first cult classic to an even more unkillable Terminator that's going to be a challenge for Arnold's Terminator to take down? So Darren, actually, let me ask you, as you look at this movie, do you think that the escalation from Terminator version 1 to Terminator version 2, the Robert Patrick Terminator, do you think that it's a logical leap? Do you think that it asks too much of the audience? Or do you think it's just something that you just sort of go with because what the heck, who really cares?
No, I think it makes sense. I mean, they established that it's a prototype. It's not like they have, because honestly, if you had a million of these T-1000s, I'm sorry, humans, but I don't think I don't think you're gonna win the future war. But it again, from what we know of Terminator history, like at the moment of these beings being sent back in time, Skynet is about to lose. So it's their last ditch effort to win the war by altering the past. But yeah, no, it's great. You get, I mean, again, Cameron plays a lot with, who are these characters and which is the good guy and which is the bad guy, even for a little bit of the beginning of the film. But yeah, you talk about unkillable, and I mean, they shoot everything at him and he just takes it. I mean, the only thing it does is slow him down. And then after a couple seconds, the little exploding cones of liquid metal like seep together, and then it's like he's right as rain, and you're like, well, literally nothing is stopping him. And it all comes down to, things don't do well in liquid steel. But
yes, very, very true.
I get a question for you guys, specifically Darren, because I feel like this is a Darren question. How did the T-1000 go back in time? Because he's liquid metal.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And he's not living tissue. Like T1, it was living tissue surrounding the metal skeleton.
I actually read a little blurb on this. Someone had asked, and their theory, which I think sounds plausible, was that it is liquid metal, but it's a mimetic metal. I mean, it's mimicking the appearance of a human visually. It looks perfect. I mean, it looks exactly like a human from the outside. So their thought was, that it was mimicking human skin so well for the transition through time. But I think I read something that Cameron stated. They never showed it, but like he had some sort of like skin sheath that was over him when he transitioned, and then he shed that right away into metal form to take out that cop. But they just never showed any of that, probably because you're adding more nude shots and you have to keep those at a minimum. But I think that was the official Cameron answer, but it just never shown.
Yeah, and that I think it was my friend Mike back at the time. He posited the same sort of thing, that there was like a sheath of living tissue over him, but the moment that he had to make a blade or change, it was super thin. Because they never established it needs to be like, a thick steak of a human around. It can be just like a molecular.
Maybe he just was a sphere when he came through. He's just a metal.
Right.
Well, I mean, we see him
that's
come
true.
through.
I kind of
and I
wanted to
love
see
that
that, like him in a
technique,
meat
yeah.
suit. Just
Yeah,
I'm thinking of like
you know.
Clayface from animated Batman, where he's just like
Yeah.
inside that plastic suit and he's all pudgy doughboy. He has no sharp edges.
Yeah, you know, it is interesting though, because something you touched on, Darren, was that it plays with the fact that there is a question as to who the good guy and who the bad guy is. Like he leaves it a little bit open there. And I would say that probably this is the first movie where I can recall a plot point like that was blown by the marketing materials. There was never any question that Arnold was coming back as the good guy.
Right.
And so, like, Tristan, do you think that, I mean, obviously people still came to the movie, people still love the movie, but let's move to the modern day. Do you think that that sort of marketing campaign would fly in the modern, you know, no spoilers environment? How do you think they would have handled that if they released something like Terminator 2 now?
I think I think the marketing definitely would have not tipped its hat as much, and I think the Cameron of today would have had more control over the marketing, kind of like how Fincher had control over the marketing of Gone Girl, where he said he's like, okay, no, you can't use any of the last half of the movie. You can only use footage from the first half to promote the film. And it worked really well because we had no idea what, you know, Amy was actually doing. And I feel like that would happen today. I feel like Cameron would be able to achieve that. But what I don't think would be possible is keeping it an actual secret, because I think in today's age of anonymous sources and bloggers paying people off, you know, even from like the key grip, you know, on set,
Right.
like it would leak out saying like, oh, you know, Arnold's the good guy in this one. You would see that 20,000 times online, even if the marketing materials didn't promote it that way. Like you would see that rumor, you know, on cbr.com. That's my opinion.
Well, it's interesting you talk about, you know, lead up to the movie, and I was, again, when researching the history of this film, they had a specific trailer, like a teaser, running for like a year all the way up to this movie, and that was the assembly line footage, which was created by Stan Winston, and which is still unique, where often that was a case of them making shots specifically for a trailer that was never going to be in the film. And it helped kind of, I think they were concerned that, well, how do we explain or show that, why is Arnold coming back? He was killed in the first movie. Like, it doesn't make sense for him to be back unless you postulate, oh no, he's the model for the Terminators. They all look like him, and they just churned another one off the assembly line. And you get this awesome, you know, late 80s, early 90s shots of the exoskeleton being assembled, and then, you know, like a creepy crawler set, he's like squished in with the his outer skin, and it looks great. I mean, it's great work by Stan Winston. But I think that's interesting because it also promoted it, but didn't say anything about the plot, just saying, hey, he's back. That's all we're saying.
That gives another question though, because when we were reviewing the first one, you made the excellent point of how they did a really good job of finding another actor to portray a Terminator in the flash forward scenes, because you made the very solid point, like, if all of them look like Arnold, then the humans are going to catch on and saying like, hey, there's that dude from Austria, he's going to kill all of us.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I kind of think of it as that one was an infiltrator, like one of the first infiltrators. The standard exoskeleton, like future war grunt, is the Arnold model, you know, and they just don't often put skin on him, because in the main hellscape war shots, it's always just the skeletons fighting.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me throw this idea out there, and I think it sort of plays into what you're saying there, Darren, is that, you know, with this specific situation, Skynet's been smashed. They find the time travel machine. They're obviously at the heart of Skynet. So John Connor could have very easily said, oh my God, I've got to send one back. Okay, how? And he's a brilliant strategist and military leader. How am I going to make sure that 10-year-old me recognizes what I'm trying to do here? Oh, okay. They've got the blueprints for Arnold. spin one of those off and send them back. Right. And that's how, you can sort of like put that in there because, it's a big.
I mean, it's a little bit of the plot of Terminator 3, where it talks about Skynet sends another Arnold model to kill him in the future, not in the past, because he had a relationship with the Terminator 2 Arnold, and it would be sympathetic.
Right.
So, I mean, it's time travel. It's always going to be a little complicated.
I mean, the thing is, there's also, though, and this is something that really stuck with me while I was watching it this time. I don't detract any credit from it or anything like that, but something that really, comes up every so often, and I want to throw this question to both of you, and whoever feels, the spirit to answer first, please go ahead. But let's posit here a situation wherein the T-1000 succeeds. And it kills Arnold, it kills Linda Hamilton, Sarah Connor, and it kills John Connor in 1994, because this is supposed to be 10 years after the original one, which very clearly said 84 on the screen. So it kills them all. What does the T-1000 then do with itself? What happens after that?
He runs a hotel. And
that makes sense.
And then it's just him kind of morphing from the, like the lobby boy to the not the maitre d', but to the concierge and to the, just to the maid to like the people. It's a hilarious short film of him just trying to run a hotel all by himself, but all throughout these different people. I mean, I don't know why you didn't get that from the context.
So the Wes Anderson route. I got it. What about you, Darren? Do you like the T-1000 hotel?
I think the T-1000 would click on like some sort of secondary programming that was create Skynet as soon as possible, like bring about Judgment Day as soon as possible. So find ways to accelerate that, because Skynet doesn't care if it happens a year earlier or whatever. It's still a win for them. So he would start Skynet's plan of infiltrating government and making sure that key people that Skynet knows are involved with its creation are greenlit and funded. I mean, you could do a lot of pulling strings.
Interesting. And maybe look for a donor heart from somebody on death row so that it could become a little bit more human. And
he's not turning into Bicentennial Man. Okay. It's not going to happen.
I don't know. It's always possible. But while we're talking about these versions and the T-1000 and everything like that, there is an error in this film, if you want to take it as such, where Arnold refers to himself as T-101 and the T-1000 is the T-1000. You can very easily say, oh, well, they're writing the script and they want to make it very clear that this prototype is many versions ahead of Arnold. But Arnold is established in the first movie as the T-800 Model 101. So how do we resolve this? How do we resolve this numbering error within itself?
So 800 101? Wait.
Yes, he was the T-800 Model 101.
And then in this movie, he only says, I'm Model 101.
Right.
So he's not really erroring. He's just not mentioning. It's like make and model of your car. You just said the model and not the make.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He's just abbreviating. He's like, I'm the 101. Like he just didn't say the
I'm the
800
OG.
Part.
You got to respect.
Okay. Listen, I'm just saying, because this was, I remember back in 91, this was a big point of contention among people.
And there wasn't even Twitter.
Yeah, there wasn't even Twitter. And because, it's like, why didn't he specifically say T-800? And this was a thing that went on for some time where, I mean, my whole thing was like, I don't care, whatever. Yeah. And, but.
I mean, 101 sounds a bigger gap than 800. I mean, that's probably why they made the line that way. Or it could have been 800 101 exactly like the first, and after multiple takes he just said only 101 and it just stuck. I mean, that could have happened where it wasn't written wrong. It just was the take number.
So so John, you briefly mentioned this. Does this movie take place in 1995?
It would have to take place in 1994 because John Connor is 10 and the first movie on screen clearly says 1984. And in the
I was factoring in like gestation time as well. Like
in
9
1995,
months.
John Connor is living in Los Angeles with his foster parents who came over from aliens.
Yes, they did. So yeah, I mean, there you go. So 95. I thought it was 94, but yes, 95.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, well, that's right, because it was July 94. I'm sorry, July 84, wasn't it?
Yeah, so 10-ish years later. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, 1995. So and trust me, since they never say the year specifically on screen, that threw a lot of people for a loop, because everybody, when the movie came out, since it didn't say anything different on screen, they said no, it's taking place today. And I was one of those jerks that was like, no, you got to do the math here.
I mean, at least it's pre-97. They do state that day.
Yeah,
for Judgment.
That's true.
Day.
That's true. So I mean, it's interesting though that they didn't take that extra step to put the timestamp specifically on the movie, considering they took that step in the first one. So I'm not sure why they would decide not to do that.
But it would be weird. But the first one came out in when was it? Was it present day when the first one came out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then why not make it present day? There's really no reason, unless you're. Well, I guess you have to because of John's age.
Yes.
Because John is supposed to be like 9, 10-ish, even though he's obviously not. He's a teenager, but he really, if it was 84 to 95, he would only be at most like 8 or 9.
Yeah, I mean, you could say 10 because blah blah blah. We don't know specifically what month it takes place, so maybe it's later in the year or something like that.
If only it was like Die Hard and gave us clues.
Yeah, but the thing is, what's interesting is like it was never really a big hang up for people to have that gap sort of happen. Like people just rolled with it. And so I think it's interesting with it, with the Model 101 line, the fact that it's never specifically stated on screen what year something takes place in. I think it also reflects a difference in the audience, because people were maybe a little bit more relaxed about stuff like that back then with sequels. And they were just like, yeah, whatever, that's fine.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I think absolutely people were way like the franchises weren't as big as they are now. There weren't as many, and there weren't as many movies. You would have had to spend the
time to watch T1 before this. Like you would have to make a concerted effort to do that.
Yeah. And honestly, like there's so many times when, like I remember growing up, my dad would just say, it's a movie. It's just a movie. Yeah. It's just a movie.
We hold it to a different standard nowadays, for sure.
Now we're like lazy, lazy filmmaking.
Why didn't they have a story group?
Why does Star Wars in 1977 not match with this episode 1 clip that I just watched? It's like, well, buddy, it's no, there's no excuse.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting because I know also, you mentioned, the dreaded word franchise, but I remember the Time magazine article. One of the few times I ever read it was when they covered Terminator 2 in the lead up. And the quote from on set, I'll never forget, was, everybody repeated. They said Cameron would show up to work near the end of the shoot saying, and he would say constantly, T3 without me. Like he was done after this because the production was so big and there was so much pressure and the budget was so huge and the expectations were so high that I remember this article. Everybody talked about the fact that Cameron was like, this is it. I'm putting everything up there. You're going to love it. You're going to hate it. I'm done. I'm never doing another Terminator movie. You'll never bring me back under any circumstances. So that leads to the inevitable question. At the end of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, do you think that there is a desire or room for a sequel? Do you come out of this movie feeling, yeah, I want another one? Or do you come out of this movie saying, okay, it's finished. This is it. I don't want any more.
I came out of this film saying, I really want to see Judgment Day. Or not necessarily Judgment Day. I want to see something post Judgment Day. Like I would love to see
the Future War.
The Future War. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like as I was done watching this one and pondering what it means to exist in the universe and also, the Terminator franchise, I was thinking I hope they come out with a Future War one. And that's really all I was thinking. I did not think that they needed to continue a present day storyline. And Lord, I didn't think they would get at least 3 more in a TV show of present day storyline. Yeah. I wanted to see Future War, and we got that in Salvation. And so I was excited for Salvation when that came out, because after T3's just god awful disappointment when Salvation came out, or like when they showed the trailer for Salvation. I was like, yes, finally, this is what I was hoping for.
And boy, did it subvert expectations. But what about you, Darren? Did you dig?
Just skip over my possible response. Skip over that. Just go for it.
I didn't skip over your possible response. You gave your response. I made a subverting expectations dig. And you got to move on quick from one of those things.
I like Salvation. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. So it's fine.
I agree with Tristan. I think, especially now that we know the future of the franchise, like it is a lot of just revisiting. It becomes very quickly a rehash. Like T2 was interesting. It wasn't a repeat of the plot of T1. I mean, yes, the base elements, you have a Terminator coming back trying to kill someone, that's there, but it was different enough, and the stakes were raised, and it was, and characters had grown from the first movie, and lots of cool things happened. But yeah, at the end of it, if I was at the end of T2 not knowing what was to come, I'd be fine with it being done. Like, because it's like, what else are you going to do? Have something else come back and try to kill him at a later time? And that's exactly what they do. But eventually it's just, you're trying to retop with the same set of principles and the same spices. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So
I completely agree. I think that Terminator 2 is it wraps up so nicely and so neatly that's why any sequel was fighting a very uphill battle. I think that Salvation was a good enough start to make like the new trilogy and show sort of the future war stuff. I think that was good enough to start that. But of course, enough people disagreed with me that it didn't happen. But that inevitably brings us with that beautiful ending. I've always loved the ending of, even though it's reused footage of the car, seeing the road fly by, she's talking about the future is open now. It's unknown. And, if even a Terminator can learn the value of human life, maybe there's hope for all of us. In the special edition version, which they obviously filmed and everything, the ending is her, a little bit older, watching her grandchild play on the playground that she had horrific nightmares about being incinerated in a nuclear war. And
they really wanted to get their mileage out of that playground set. I mean,
boy,
they
did.
Now, my question is, why did the Terminators hate that playground so much? I mean, they just burned it and burned it and burned it,
and then
Alpha
returned
Target
to it.
Playground 01.
Well, John Connor was such a thorn in their side. They were like, that was his favorite playground. It must burn.
Is the next Terminator comes back, is his like time orb going to open up in the merry-go-round and like melt it? And like that's their new landing zone, so that
that's the final screw you.
If that was the opening of Terminator 3, I think the movie starts off much stronger.
I don't think that's enough to save Terminator 3, but
yeah, but in all seriousness, like, there are people that would prefer that ending. I'm not one of them, but there are people that prefer that ending, that very definite ending of Sarah Connor stating, this is truly the end.
We
She's
won.
Looking at, we won.
Day saved.
So do you think that if that ending had been on there, it would have removed any possibility of a Terminator 3? Do you think the only reason Terminator 3 was ever
there's the Cameron factor. I think that you can't not talk about that. I mean, he's basically done with the franchise, so is it worth even continuing without the originator in that way?
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. But I'm just saying, like, in terms of that ending, do you think that, going down the road and having the future open with possibilities, do you think that just ties in more neatly to the idea of a sequel? Do you think it's?
I think people with this franchise, like as we see today, the timeline is so convoluted and nonsensical, and how they're saying like, oh, Judgment Day just got delayed, or we got to do this and we got to do that. I feel like with timelines, with time traveling stories, you can do whatever you want. Like, even if they came out with even if the special edition was the theatrical edition, we're like, yes, this is what happened. All it takes is one writer to say like, oh, well, no, like they sent another guy before that happened. And so, like what you saw at the end didn't happen because they sent somebody back in time. It just, you can say whatever you want.
Now, see, why can't you just have a Terminator 3 where what it is the Terminator Skynet finally pieces together the definite way to solve all of these problems is to go all the way back to,
Protozoic era.
Yeah. Well, no,
knock
go back
out
to
humanity from square one. Wait, no.
go back to like the late 1700s and wipe everybody out, and you're fine. Nobody can ever rise up against you again. But then, of course, you can't.
But then nobody makes
create
them.
Skynet. Yeah,
Yeah.
There you go.
That's a good point. Hadn't they already? Well, I know that after Dyson dies and they take out Cyberdyne Systems, like I know there's still the T-1000 and there's still Arnold out there, but Skynet's like heavily derailed at this point. So like, haven't they already kind of won at that point? Because it's not that they've stopped the T-1000, but at that point, Skynet's not happening.
Skynet's delayed because they have backup drives somewhere. There's no way that they had only...
They made a big plot point about getting rid of all the drives.
It's true.
Oh,
and
that's
it
a
was
good point.
91. 95 at the time.
I mean, they did establish that, I mean, technically, if let's say the T-1000 kills them and deactivates Arnold and then goes into plan B mode of like, make sure Skynet comes back, like that could happen. Again, there's still a reason for them to kill him and win, but in a way, they did kind of win when Cyberdyne Systems was gone, because they terminated Skynet. They did the same trick, of taking him out before he was created.
Although it is a good, I mean, I do applaud the movie for making the point that so long as a chip exists somewhere, they always run the risk of somebody finding it.
Right.
But there are two scenes in the special edition in specific that I go back and forth about whether the movie is better with them or not.
Okay.
The first
I have some
one,
opinions on this too, so I'm curious.
First one is Kyle Reese in the dream sequence with Sarah while she's in the institution. I like the scene simply because it puts Kyle Reese in the audience's mind again. I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but I like the scene. I like the way it plays. But the other one is the one where they actually do the chip switch with the Terminator. And they actually turn Arnold off. And they went to the length of getting Linda Hamilton's twin sister so that they could do an amazing camera trick with the mirror and everything, pull the chip out of Arnold's head, have it be a completely believable practical effect, and have the debate about whether you destroy the chip or whether you switch the chip to learn and stuff like that. Now, obviously, the movie works fine without it. But I really, really like that scene, and I really think it's a good scene, and I think it's a good scene between Sarah and John showing their philosophical argument about the Terminator itself and basically whether technology is good or bad inherently or whether it's just the way that you use it sort of thing. So, I mean, Darren, I know you said you have opinions on this. Those two scenes, let me throw those out there. Do you think either one of those scenes would have improved the theatrical cut?
I'm with you, John. I love the chip scene. I love just the execution. Like, it's one of those super complex, tricky scenes to do, and the way they do it, it's perfect. And because you're watching it, and when you actually think about it for 2 seconds, and you're like, well, wait, how is there a Arnold skull in the foreground? Like, but that's him in the mirror. Like, how did they do that? And like you said, there was also that line with John Connor where he's like, when are you going to start listening to me? Like, if I'm supposed to be this big military genius, like, when are we following my ideas? And you have that, and you have, the machine and those, the philosophical part. So I definitely love that scene. I would be fine with that kept in. I think it added a bit to the movie. I don't know if it was cut for time. I don't know why it was cut, because it was, I mean, except for time, because it's you could slot it in there and not really change anything, and it adds a good amount.
My friend Joey, who I mention all the time because I've known him for so long, and we always argue back and forth about movies, is in that scene. There is one specific moment where Edward Furlong's eyes actually look at the camera. His eyes actually get distracted and look at the camera. You have to be looking for it, but it's there. And you can tell that he's looking at a camera that's moving, and it sort of messes with the illusion a little bit. And Joey's opinion was when they were getting down to brass tacks and they're like, we got to get this as lean as possible. Eventually they watched that scene so much, and Cameron's like, he looks at the camera. Fine, let's cut this scene. We don't really need it. sort of thing. That's Joey's postulation. I have no idea how accurate it could be, but it holds a little bit of water that, like, you're sitting there going through edits of the movie over and over again. What can you take in? What can you take out? And then eventually you see that and you're like, you know what? Screw it. Take that out.
But, and to answer your question on the other scene, I'm fine without Dream Kyle Reese. It's kind of weird because you're kind of trying to tell, like, it's not like anything else we've seen in any of these movies so far. So because it's like, is it a dream? But it's giving her, like, he's talking to her and kind of giving her knowledge that she wouldn't know at that point. Like, our son's in danger. And so it's kind of like, well, what kind of movie is this becoming? Like, this is a kind of a left field. So I'm fine with that one not. But I would like to keep the chips. I mean, obviously, you have to kill your darlings at some point. But man, that would be a hard cut for me. Having the technical achievement of that scene,
right? Cutting
the chip scene would hurt.
Well, and you even flash forward to today, they would have done it with CG trickery. It would have been so much easier for them to do it today. The technical aspect of setting that all up is insane. Absolutely insane. And it's so perfectly done that, like, it's just mind blowing. I mean, Tristan, how do you feel about those two scenes? Do you think either one would have benefited the theatrical cut, or do you think that it's better for having both of them out?
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I haven't seen the special edition.
You've never watched the special?
No.
You've never seen the special
edition?
No,
I've never seen it, no.
Oh. See, that's what's funny is the term special edition, the first time I ever encountered it was I went into, let's go back in the time machine, folks, our own time machine here, Suncoast Motion Picture Company. Does anybody remember Suncoast in the mall? Yeah, that was the movie store.
Mm-hmm. I do remember.
Wow,
Suncoast.
I wasted so much time and money in Suncoast Motion Picture Company. And I remember being in there, and I remember, I don't have the set anymore. I wish I did, but it was a rectangular long box, and it had a lenticular cover, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, special edition. And I looked at it and I said, what the hell is this? And I went up and I flipped it over and I read the thing. It was like more footage. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I bought it and I watched it. And it was the first time I ever watched anything that was labeled a special edition. And I'm trying to remember what year it came out. I think the special edition was released to video cassette in 93 or 94. I want to say it was I could be completely wrong.
I feel like DVD has ruined the term special edition because when DVD came out, everything was a special edition, even if it was the only edition. Yes. They just called it the special edition because it had, like, I don't know, a commentary track on it or something.
Yeah, it had specials, but it wasn't necessarily a different cut. And then you had director's cut, and then you had special cuts, and then extended, and it's just like
ultimate.
What does it mean? Skynet edition. It's like, come on, it's not even the list.
Yeah,
Diamond edition.
No, but I treasured that thing. And the thing is, even then, because there are little tiny moments in the special edition at the end that I still wish were in the theatrical that very much more clearly outline the malfunctioning state of the T-1000 at the end. Where he is reformed after being shattered.
Yeah.
He's walking and he's passing a rail and he puts his hand down on the rail and he sticks. And he's like puzzled for a second and he pulls his hand off and his fingers are all stretched out and he's got the pattern, the caution pattern of the rail, and he shakes his hand to go on. And the only thing that's really retained of that is at one moment he's walking along after he's pinned Arnold by his arm in the big wheel. And you see this ripple go through his body, right? Yeah. That's the only thing that remains of it. And it's like just that little moment.
You can tell he's damaged.
Right.
Like there's a glimmer of hope because he can be broken.
And at the end, when he's imitating Sarah Connor, John Connor looks down and sees that the T-1000's feet have blended with the flooring. And so when Sarah comes around, he's frozen for a second. He looks down at the feet, and that's when he goes, oh, and he jumps down so Sarah can shoot. And it's like, I don't understand, because you can't say cut for time, because literally those two moments take up about maybe 3 seconds. Yeah. So it's never made sense to me why.
And the shots were done, obviously.
Right.
Like the effects were all done. But Anyway, we'll stop talking about a movie that Tristan hasn't watched.
Yeah, sorry, man.
I was going to say, hey, I thought we were going to talk about the theatrical today.
We always talk about scenes we want to add, and we just they happen to be in the Skynet edition. So,
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, but the thing is, we're sitting here, we're talking about stuff that, could have stayed, could have, deserved to get cut, those sorts of things. And so, Tristan, I'll kick it to you. When you watched Terminator 2 this time, was there any sense, do you think more should have been cut? Was there any sense where you wanted, you do think more should have been cut?
Oh, you had pacing issues?
Yes.
Really?
I did. Yes. I think that's really the only thing that I had an issue with Terminator 2, because
I don't think it's getting a 5, guys. Just guessing. No. Go ahead. No, I'm curious. What are your...
Well, no, this is okay. I'll be honest with you guys. I have no bone. I have no bone to pick with this movie. I have nothing against this movie. I think it's a great film. I think everything that John said at the top of the show is true. It changed the game. These visual effects, 90% of these visual effects would hold up today if the movie was released. How many movies can say that when they're 30 years old? That's insanity. With how much quality is in the special effects and the cutting and the direction and everything like that. But this movie never really connected with me. I think the Terminator films never really connected with me. Like the first one definitely didn't. And this one I thought, I was like, oh, that's a good action film. Okay, let's go on and watch the next movie. Like that kind of thing. I didn't lose my mind like a lot of my friends did over this movie, and I don't know why. And so watching it now as an adult, and seeing a bunch of Cameron's other films, and literally studying Cameron, for years ago, I think he and I differ in opinion on pacing. I think that's one thing that I feel like he doesn't do. This feels pretentious for me to say, but it's one thing I don't think he does well. I think there are certain times when a non-special edition does well, like with Aliens. I kind of had the same gripe with Aliens. Even though I really like the scenes that were added into the special edition, I love the theatrical cut because it's leaner, it's meaner, it's to the point, and the pacing is fantastic. But I have to give props to the special edition of Aliens because it adds so much more weight to it. And with T2, even though we're talking about theatrical, I think still with the theatrical, I think the second act definitely could be trimmed down a little bit. I feel like some of her time in the mental institution could be trimmed down. I think some of the Mexico stuff can be trimmed down a little bit. It's just, I'm not saying things removed. I'm not saying like take out entire swaths of stuff or even remove entire scenes. I just think that there's a lot of lingering time on things that don't need to be there in order to make this leaner and meaner and cut to the chase. But maybe I'm looking at it too much from a 2021 lens. I don't know. Maybe the advancement of filmmaking has also taken away some of our patience as well when it comes to action films. I don't know. I'm willing to admit that if you guys disagree with me, but in my own personal perspective, I think this T2 theatrical could be even shorter.
Darren, I'll kick it over to you before I give my rebuttal to Mr. Riddell.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there's definitely a part where we're kind of midway and we're in Mexico, and I'm like, wait, did I miss the Skynet part or the Cyberdyne? Oh no, wait, that hasn't even happened yet. Like, it's a very complex movie. I mean, because I was trying to remember. It's like, okay, let's see. He comes in the past and he's a cop, and then he gets John Connor, and then then they the mom escapes, and then they go, like, I forgot about the Mexico side trip because I'm like, wait, were they flying a helicopter? Is that the helicopter they're going to be flying in the end? No, wait, that's a different one. And it's a long, complex movie. So yeah, definitely, I think there would be places to trim it up a little bit because it in some ways it's the little movie literally turns around at Mexico and they go back and have like a whole nother several acts that like it feels a little off.
I disagree. And the reason I disagree is specifically because Mexico, they've won. They've gone on. They've gotten away. The T-1000 isn't going to find them there. They're off the grid.
That's true.
They have absolutely beaten the T-1000, and they can run out the clock until Judgment Day in 2 years at this point, right? And live off the grid, and they know they're going to survive because obviously John is going to survive the apocalypse.
But they still have to go through Judgment Day.
Right. They still have to go through Judgment Day, but they're at least in the best possible place because, the outback in Mexico is not exactly being targeted by either the U.S. or the Soviets at that point to annihilate the world, right? And I think also that there is a connection. I don't watch this movie frequently. And when I was younger, I connected with the action stuff, and I would have agreed with you about Mexico. Okay, let me get back to the T-1000. I want to watch them, use the minigun on the cops again. Come on, get back to that. And I still chuckle at human casualties 0.0 because my friend Mike and our reaction was, how can it be 0.0? Like, how does that work? Like we thought it was one of the cheekiest.
No ricochets,
right? One of the cheekiest, fun sort of on-screen gags. But they win, and then Sarah snaps, and it's not enough for her to win at that point by getting away. She wants to go back and save the world at that point. And I don't know that I've ever connected with Sarah Connor as a character as well as I did this time rewatching it, and was in fact moved to tears when she's going to assassinate Dyson and has her breakdown at that moment and realizes what she's become. And watching this,
she's a Terminator.
Yes, but I don't understand why Linda Hamilton did not get the same credit for this performance that Sigourney Weaver got in Aliens, because her character goes on such a true journey through this film, and it's such a beautiful, moving statement. And even the fact that, especially in the modern day, this idea that Miles Dyson is sitting there working on something and doesn't give a care in the world to the implication of what he's working on. It's such a classic science fiction movie trope, I guess,
right?
Of the scientist who's just, I'm doing science, and
it's going to be an airplane pilot. Yay!
Who cares, right? And then people come in and say, "What the hell are you working on? You're going to unleash hell on the world." And so I think Joe Morton, who's a terrific actor in his own right, he really brings it as well. And so I think Terminator 2 is fascinating because it's two movies in one. They win twice. And the clear statement is it's not enough just to survive. You have to embrace that idea that there is no fate but what we make. And it is time, you've got to go out there and be in the world. It's not enough just to go through it. And so, yeah, I mean, I can honestly say, I don't think anything suffers for pacing on this. I was engaged from start to finish. And this is probably the best I've reacted to it since 1991, honestly.
Joe Morton never gets enough credit.
No,
never. It's so good.
I mean, his performance in this, he should be right up there with Schwarzenegger and Hamilton. I mean, it's just, he's in it for so little. He has so little screen time, but he just knocks it out of the park. And I mean, he's always been a great actor. I mean, in everything he does.
I love him in Executive Decision.
Yes.
Cappy.
Yeah. Yep.
Love that movie.
Every time
I watch that movie.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same.
But for some reason, his death scene always stuck with me.
Yep.
It's haunting.
Yes, right?
Yeah. It's like really his breathing and gasping, and I'm like, oh, dude, this is
like
intense.
I want to know how he came up with that. Like I want to know, like, what did he see? What influenced that? It's just because it's something that I've never seen before in a movie, and so that's why it feels so real to me. Like, obviously, I've never seen
like he had a collapsed lung or something, and he's like trying to stay alive for a few moments more, but it's
he's going into shock, and his body's shutting down, and
it's haunting. It's really haunting.
And I love that Dean Norris is the cop.
Yes. Yeah.
And you still know it's Dean Norris, even though his entire face is completely covered.
I it's been so long since I watched this that I had never had the opportunity to put it put two and two together there. And so this was the first time where I was sitting there and he goes, move, get out. I went, hey, that's Hank from Breaking Bad. Cool. I thought that was nice. He's always been a treat too. But yeah, Joe Morton, he's one of those actors who is, and I mean this as a very high compliment. He's sort of like JT Walsh, where if I said to my wife, hey, JT Walsh, he was a great actor, wasn't he? She'd have no idea who I was talking about. And if I said to her, Joe Morton, I love Joe Morton, she would look at me and say, who? But for people who pay attention to movies, you see their name in the credits and your reaction is, oh, all right, well, I know that's at least one good performance I'm going to get today. Yeah. And he's, he's so great in Zack Snyder's version of Justice League as well. But
that's right, as Cyborg's dad.
Yeah, that's such a different discussion, but still and this is inevitably going to lead, because we're talking about performances. Linda Hamilton's great. Arnold's obviously having a blast. Robert Patrick owns the T-1000. I think Robert Patrick redefines what a villain is in this movie.
I just keep thinking, like, what cardiovascular,
right?
Routine
cardio program is he on?
Yeah. What did he do? Did he ever stop running?
Yeah, no. As soon as
I think he learned he developed a technique to breathe through his nose while running, so it never looked like he was out of breath.
Yeah,
and it's just insane.
I'm willing to bet that there's at least one behind the scenes sort of thing where somebody yells "cut," you just see him fall down on the ground. He's like, "Get me the oxygen tank!"
Yeah. He's like a defensive lineman who accidentally got the ball.
Yeah, that's right. They got the big tank with the fans behind him.
I'm just sad with Joe Martin dying that we're going to miss out on all those vacuum cleaners. I mean, it's really sad he didn't go on to develop the whole Dyson line.
Are you proud of that, Darren?
I can't believe
Are you proud of that joke?
I'm very proud of that joke.
I cannot believe you just did that. Wow. Well,
Judgment Day, Dyson.
Well, and he traps Scotty in the future too. So, the Dyson sphere.
That's true.
But
deep cut.
Thank you. So, okay. We're talking about performances. That inevitably brings us to the controversial topic of child actors. I need to know, because I know he took a lot of flack. He took, in my circle of friends, Edward Furlong took Jake Lloyd level flack for his performance in this film. I'm not going to give away my reaction, but I'll throw it out to the floor here. Is Edward Furlong good enough? Is he not good enough? Or does he benefit from a movie that's so good it carries him along?
I don't think he's Jake Lloyd level bad.
I don't think Jake Lloyd's bad either, but go on.
I knew you were going to say that.
Of course. Set you up, punk.
I mean,
okay. Just talk about Edward Furlong.
I'm just going to move on. I don't think he's as bad as Jake Lloyd, but I don't think he's great either. But I think in the moments that matter, he delivers. I really do. I think in the moments that matter, he's fine. And I mean that in a good way. He's fine. He does his job. And I think in some of the quieter moments or some of the, routine character moments, you're kind of like, kid actor. Okay. But like you said, like in that third option, everything is so good around him that it's fine. Like, it doesn't really take you out. It doesn't really ruin the movie. You're like, everything's firing on all cylinders. He's a kid. He's a kid actor. I don't expect all kids to be able to quote Shakespeare. So yeah, that's kind of how I remember him being worse than he was than when I watched it this time for the show. Because like I remember before I put it in, I was like, oh man, oh god, that's right, we got to put up with Furlong. And then I watched it this time. I was like, well, okay, it's not that bad.
He's better than he is in Pet Sematary too. I can tell you that. Darren,
always the sequels for him, I guess. But
yes,
yeah, no, I agree. I think any time that he's bonding with Arnold, like their on-screen chemistry works really well. Like it plays well. I don't know. I feel like we don't spend enough time with him pre-inciting incident. So, I mean, the very little we get of him like yelling at his step parents and going to the arcade, like I don't feel like I have a baseline for who John Connor is as a normal kid. Besides, just being a slimy little, kind of just,
twerp.
jerk. he's just he's a twerp, and his friend's cooler. His redhead friend is cooler than he is.
How cool is he with the cop? Like, I mean, with Robert Patrick, didn't even blink an eye, and I was just like, man, that's the kind of friend you want to have.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd say all of the Stranger Things kids were better than with Edward Furlong, but does it pull you out of the movie, or does it knock it out at his knees? No, I don't think it's that bad.
No, I think I fall there. I think he's fine. They don't ask a lot of him, and I do think that where it really matters is how does he interact with Hamilton and Schwarzenegger, and I think he interacts with them well.
I think if he didn't have such a whiny voice, especially when he screamed, I think people would have given him a little bit more flack. Less flack.
There's so much ADR in this movie because his voice changed over the course of shooting. Like, he went through major voice changes. He grew like a foot, and it's just, so I'm pretty sure majority of his lines are all ADR, which kind of pulls a little something out of the moment.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think it works. I think he works. Now, Tristan, just, I know that we're sort of rounding third, as you like to say, but I have to return to the visual effects before we give our ratings here. You said about 10% of the effects wouldn't hold up. And I know that you're just, ballparking.
Is there rear projection? I was looking for it.
Yeah.
There's definitely rear projection.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to remember.
100%.
There's some really bad rear projection when the three of them are in the car together for the first time.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
When he's driving at night and you can see everything, it's blatantly obvious.
Oh, yeah.
So
they switch to a set.
So the question becomes, with those effects that don't hold up, given the fact that it was record-breaking what the budget on this film was, does it surprise you that there were things like rear projection use, that there were things that sort of were destined not to hold up even a couple of years after Terminator 2?
It doesn't surprise me at all, because I think it's very common for a big budget film to have unbalanced effects. Because so many times when you do effects work on a big budget film, it's not just one company doing the effects. It's multiple companies doing the effects. And so, like, you'll have one company work on the fire effects. You'll have another company working on the T-1000 liquid effects. You'll have another company working on, like, you'll have Winston's company just doing the practical effects.
Right.
And
practical
like
Terminators.
Yeah, like you have so many different companies. Like, it's, I'm not speaking for you, John, here, but I think so many people, it's a I don't know if misnomer is the right word, but it's a misconception that it's all just a bunch of people in one building making one movie.
It's the company, right?
Yeah. Like, I'm a company man. Don't hold it against me. It's just like, no, it's like so much is outsourced. I mean, like in you'll love this, John. Like in Star Trek 5, like they needed to do the God special effect, and like some dude who had one computer in his basement said, "Oh, I can do that for like $700," and Shatner's like, "Let's get him." And and like stuff like that happens way more than we think. And so I think Cameron, being frustrated and like having so much money and having so much weight on his shoulders, I think there's themes where it's just like, okay, we're going to spend 75% of the budget on this liquid stuff. And so in order to do that, we're going to need to use rear projection in a few of these shots, like that kind of thing. I think it's inevitable to have that kind of thing happen.
Okay. Fair enough answer. And Darren, I'm guessing you agree with Tristan on that.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about how the, Abyss Water Tentacle pioneered the way, and all the T-1000 shots like hold up still. I mean, it's
I don't know if all of them do.
There's a few. That's kind of where that 10% comes in.
Okay, you think it's mostly in T-1000 stuff?
I wouldn't say mostly. So
a part of it is.
You have the rear projection stuff. You have a few things over there, like the twin cop, like the portly cop who gets the knife in his face. That doesn't look so great.
That's true. But I don't see that as T-1000. Like, I know what you're
that's
talking
not
about.
what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Like, it's a practical effect that doesn't quite hold up today, or like when Schwarzenegger is walking through the hallway against the cops, and the cops are like shooting him up, and so you see his skull. Like, you can clearly see they're cutting back and forth between real Schwarzenegger and puppet Schwarzenegger. Like that kind of thing. And then like there's just a few shots of the 1000 where when he's completely metal but yet human form metal, there's a few squidgy shots.
The T-1000 shot that I think has the most trouble holding up is after Arnold has shot him for the first time and he's laying there, and it's specifically because it's very obviously like a still shot because the smoke starts moving in an opposite direction as he starts closing up, and it's like, man, I bet they wish they had that one back, because it's
you can kind of tell the difference between the practical squibs of the cones on his chest, and then when it's cut to the shot on the floor, it's obviously they're all CG because they close, but they don't match really the shimmerness.
And everything we're saying is nitpicking.
Oh,
that's totally true.
I know you guys say that. I'm just saying it out loud for the audience, because we're judging a 30-year-old movie's effects, and we're still only nitpicking. How awesome is that?
Yeah.
Have either of you gone to the Universal experience, like the
doesn't exist anymore?
But did you guys go to it?
No, I never got a chance to go to it.
I went, and it was amazing. Like, it was everything that they said it was. It was like, it was directed by James Cameron. They got the original 3 actors back to film the stuff.
Oh, sorry. Are you talking about the ride show at Universal?
Yeah.
Is that what I don't remember it calling the experience, but
well, no, like maybe not. Okay, no, like no, it's not maybe not the ride, but like you're sitting in a theater.
Yeah.
And,
I did go to that.
Yeah, and you get the 3D.
It's like a 3D
effect.
show.
Yeah, it's a 3D show.
Was it as good as the Muppet experience at Disney World?
I don't know.
No frame of reference.
You mean Muppet Show? Yeah.
The Muppet Show 3D.
I don't think I saw that one. I didn't.
I've seen that one.
I like that one.
I only went to Disney World once.
Yeah, no, and they have some other Terminator, like a T something that's a little more beefy, that also is there. Yeah, it's been a long time since I saw it, but I did see it once or twice, the experience.
I wish I had, but not as bad as I wish I had the ratings for Terminator 2 Judgment Day from you two gentlemen. And because I know that Tristan is going to disappoint me, as he likes to do. Darren, I'll throw it to you first and see what your rating is.
All right. Well, again, I don't like doing half numbers that much, but this, again, I like to look at it amongst all of his other works and how I like them. I'd give it a 3. Yes. Everyone's shocked. No, it's good. It's good, but I watch it so rarely. Like I would 9 out of 10 choose any of his other films, as I enjoy them more than T2. Like, it's not, it definitely has its achievement and it stands for it. But as far as I'm with Tristan, I'm not a Terminator franchise junkie. I don't love popping this in. And for that, it knocks it down a little bit from a 4 to a 3.
Well, I know, at least from your ratings, that you would watch this before you'd watch the first Terminator. Which,
yes, I mean, so far the 2 Terminators are the lowest on my list. So
stunning. Yeah, Tristan, what is your rating?
Well, I really didn't think I'd be rating it higher than Darren, but I think I get what Darren's saying, though. I think from an enjoyment level, from a personal entertainment and enjoyment level, I'd probably give it like a 3.5. But I got to give it 4 stars because of how much it changed the game, how much it achieved, how great the action scenes are, how many great moments are in it. Just the CGI, the practical effects, the special effects are just mind blowing, and it's kind of how I view. Spoiler to the future. It's kind of how I view Avatar. When you look at what it achieves on a technical level, you have to factor that in. And like, that's one thing where, I think a lot of times it gets overlooked when something gets nominated for an Oscar or gets Oscar consideration. It's the Academy of Arts and Sciences. That's the name, the Academy of Arts and Sciences. And so if you excel in either or both, then you should be considered. And T2 very much excels in the sciences. And so for that, it gets 4 stars.
Solid 5. I like without hesitation. Yeah, I mean,
Credits.
you know, is it absolutely perfect? Is any film like, you know, I was talking earlier about stuff that I could trim here or there, that I could, you know, I could argue this scene should be added back in. But I think it's this is an amazing film on so many fronts, and I think what makes it interesting, endlessly interesting, is that this is the rare case of a director basically coming in and getting a shot to give his entire imagination free rein. He actually had a dump truck of money backed up to him that said, "Hey, give it another go." And he makes the Terminator on comparatively a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
And somebody says, "That was really inventive. What would you do if you had $100 million?" And he says, "Well, let me show you." And I think that's amazing. I think that the characters are, again, you know, we keep coming back to this with Cameron. The characters are always very clearly drawn. I think that the statements in the film are incredibly important. I think that there is a maturity and a philosophical turn to this that is just really, really enduring. And so I think that Terminator 2 will always stand as one of those films that's always going to be a benchmark in a whole lot of ways. Are there films I like better? Yes, absolutely. But, you know, when I do come and watch Terminator 2, I'm never disappointed. And it's just everybody firing on all cylinders and just bringing everything they have to the table and leaving nothing out. Just absolutely going for it. And I think for the majority of the film, just absolutely acing it. So, yeah, I give it a solid 5. Solid. So, yes. And both of my esteemed co-hosts are now doing the thumbs up.
2 thumbs up in lava.
Yeah, in imitation of going and sinking into the lava. But if you would like to sink into deeper conversations with them, you can reach out to them online and look for them on other shows. Darren, where can people find you out there on the internet and in the podcast airwaves?
Oh, they can find me here on the Nerd Party Network talking about Star Trek every week on City Alpha 3. And they can also find me on my website, Dr. Sci-Fi, DRSCIFI.
And you can find me at The Insane Robin on Twitter and Letterboxd. And it's always a lot of fun. And as well as finding me on the network at thenerdparty.com. I have a couple of backlog shows. Just search my name or search for me, and then you'll find me there.
Look out there for Kessel Junkie, KESSELJUNKIE. I have the most fun on Letterboxd. Find me there. And I also have a lot of fun co-hosting Aggressive Negotiations, a Star Wars podcast with Matt Rushing right here on the Nerd Party Network. So with that, we can promise you that once again, we'll be back next week. But for a real severe change of pace, a palate cleanser, if you will, with James Cameron's True Lies.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.